Hello and welcome back to the channel with me, the Orienteering Kid, where today we're at Starfleet Academy for the first round of the World Orienteering Day Torus series. Yes, we are back for the start of a series celebrating World Orienteering Day. Officially the 8th of September, but events can run from the 8th all the way up to the 14th in celebration of this. And this is what this series is doing on the TempO simulator, where all the TempO events that I've done recently can be found. And yeah, we're here for a 4-day series across a week, so every other day there's going to be an event. And we are starting here at the Starfleet Academy, found in San Francisco in the Star Trek films. So we are going back into the film universe here with Ralph Corner planning the event and Anne Straub advising, and I know both of them are very experienced course setters, so I'm excited to see exactly what they've got for us today to kick off the week. But let's jump straight into it now. We're going into the World Orienteering Day Torus series section, and we are going into event 1, which today is a 1 to 1500 map, and that's a very small scale actually, so that surprised me already, with 2.5 meter contours, and it's a map of virtual terrain. So that means this is actually going to be part of a video game, but we'll get to that later on. We have 8 stations with a 30-second penalty for every wrong answer and a 3 meter no exceptions zero tolerance. So it's only going to be a 0 if the correct location is more than 3 meters away from any other control. The terrain is a virtual park terrain from the Star Trek online game with trees, bushes, boulders and small lakes. All visible boulders are shown on the map no matter of their height, so I'll have to remember that. Sometimes boulders are only mapped when they are bigger than a certain size, but here every single boulder will be. So that's going to be very useful in placing us in some of these stations. And the instructions are that the event is dedicated to the 55th anniversary of Star Trek on the 8th of September 2021, as the first episode was broadcast in 1966. We hope you enjoy to boldly go where no Orienteer has gone before. Long live and prosper. So we are here on the 55th anniversary of Star Trek, so this is a very fitting competition to start off the week, and I'm excited to get on with it. As always, my answers will be appearing in the top right hand corner of the screen, so you can see exactly what I'm putting, correct or wrong, in the black and red letters respectively at the moment that I do. And yeah, let's dive into this first event in the World Orienteering Day series. And here is Station 1. Okay, nice set of pathways there, building as well. The grassy area on the right is what we need. That bench is going to be Bravo. Boulder back there, I can believe that's Foxtrot. Bench right in front of us has to be Delta. Back there for Echo. And over there is nothing. So quite a nice opening station, very simple to start us off. All the shapes in the path were clear as soon as the map came up, and the first few tasks seem to be in the correct place. The only one I'm potentially querying is whether Foxtrot was on the right boulder. However, there didn't seem to be any boulders on the map nearby where Foxtrot was, so it must have been the correct one. And then quite a nice and simple 0 to finish off. So I thought all the features were quite clear there. It would have been potentially nice to note in the instructions to start with that benches were going to be black crosses, but that also became clear as soon as the map came up. So that wasn't too bad at all, and a nice quick time to start us off. But we will now just move straight on to the next station of the day, which is Station 2. Okay, trees around, potentially some rock, or is that a lake on the left hand side? It's a lake. Between those two trees. Or thickets, I don't think anything's there, but I think Alpha's between those two rocks. I think that's got to be Charlie. There's an unmapped thing, that's the wrong pillar, and I think that's Echo to finish off. So that was a slightly harder station now. I had to hesitate on a couple of them. Mainly the first task trying to place all the trees and bushes, but I think it was clear that Delta wasn't in line with the 2, and we wanted it to be to the left of Delta slightly and a bit further back. So I was happy to zero that one to start with, and then move to Alpha in the lake, and now I can definitely see what lakes look like, as I wasn't quite sure whether that was a bit of rockery or the water that Alpha was in, but that was clear once we moved to that task. And then the third task came up, and I have gone with Charlie, but I'm wondering whether it was a 0. I believe, however, there was a small unmapped tree just to the left of Bravo, and I could see 3 thickets further up from it, and there were only 3 on the map. So I believe those were the correct 3 thickets, putting Charlie between the right 2, and then a 0 on the wrong pillar before coming forward to Echo to finish off that station. And that was another good station, a bit harder than the first one though, so I'm expecting them to start ramping up the difficulty a bit now as we move into Station 3. Okay, there's a lake with a waterfall, there's a pathway on the right hand side as well. So those trees in there That's only going to be Charlie, and I believe it's in the right place. And Echo's definitely on the right one there. Between those two trees, I don't think Foxtrot's in the right place, whereas that rock is definitely Bravo, and between them there is Alpha as well. So I thought I was a slightly simpler station than Station 3, however one problem did make me think there a lot, and that was the third task about whether Foxtrot was in the right place along the path. However, I don't think it was. I think it was between the furthest two trees in the bigger gap and not the closest two trees in the smaller gap. I may be wrong there though, we'll have a look at that afterwards. The rest of the station was fairly good though. I just kind of believed Charlie was in the right place for the first task because it seemed to be in the correct bit of greenery, but I wasn't quite sure exactly where it was, but I've just gone with it. And also Echo on the fountain I thought was quite nice, and actually the other two problems as well all seems pretty good, so I'm happy with that. And we're going to finish off the first half of the day here, moving into Station 4. Okay, circle in the middle, that's going to be easy to note, and the pillars at the back I'm expecting a 0 potentially, but we'll see. Between those thickets is going to be Alpha. Pillars at the back, oh no, that's definitely Delta. Coming forward, I don't think anything's there, but round here is going to be Charlie, and out the back there is Echo to finish off. And that was quite a nice station, using the foreground and the background to keep us on our toes, jumping back and forth. When we first went in, I saw the logo in the centre with Charlie on it, and that was clearly the circle of paved area on the map as it appeared, so I knew for the first task we were just going slightly to the left of it, and that kind of had to be Alpha in the alignment of bushes. Just a small bit of checking though to make sure it was in the correct triangle. And then we moved back to Delta on the pillars, and I know I said to start with that I was expecting a 0 on that pillars. I was expecting it at different pillars like a task in Station 2, however it was definitely in the right place, so I'm glad I didn't just straight away 0 that. The third task was a 0 though, I believe. It was too far to the right to be Foxtrot, but that is the one we're going to check as we go back into that station. And then finally finishing off with Charlie, and then bouncing back into the background to finish off with Echo in the corner of the open land. And that was another very good station. I'm enjoying this a lot, and we're already in the second half of the day here, going into Station 5. Okay, all around the lake here is going to be counting the rockery and the bushes. 2 rocks, 2 bushes, 3 rocks. I don't believe that's the right bit, so I'm going to 0 that, and I am right. So 3 rocks, and then that's the bigger rock, so that's got to be Echo. Between the 2 bushes there is Bravo, that's not anything. And there is going to be Foxtrot to finish off. So a nice trick to start us off there, being in the wrong lake on the map. I immediately saw the rocks around the lake on the map and was very doubtful we were in the right place, as none of the rocks seemed to fit it to the rocks in the photo. So I immediately 0'd that, and I was correct, and we moved into a different lake where we definitely were that time. I had to slow up a bit though to do the second task, as I was just checking which rock we actually wanted, but the boulder right in front of us was the big one, and we wanted the one in from it on the right hand side, which had to be the Echo kite. And they also jumped back even further on the lake on one of the tasks. I can't remember if the third or fourth, and that was definitely a very quick 0 for me, because I knew for definite we were stood on that side of the lake and couldn't see it. The other 2 tasks, being Bravo and Foxtrot though, I thought were very clear, and that was another very good station. Nice trick as well to start off the 0s. Nice to throw one of them in every so often, make sure people are reading the map properly. But yeah, that was good, and we are just going to move straight on now into Station 6. Okay, there's a bridge going across, which is what we're going to need. 3 boulders on the right hand side as well, or 4 actually in a line. That's the Foxtrot boulder, and that there is none of them. So we're going back there, and that's also another 0 before that boulder is going to be Charlie, and that rock at the back for Delta as well. So as soon as that photo loaded, I saw the bridge and I saw the line of rocks, and I knew that was what I was going to anchor on straight away, and I saw that as soon as the map came up, so I knew exactly which boulder we wanted to start us off, and that was going to be Foxtrot. And then once we had that, we knew exactly where we were. So as soon as the map moved a bit to the left hand side and we wanted a boulder on the left hand side of the lake, I knew we were looking at either Alpha or Charlie. However, we wanted a big boulder, and counting through them, it was going to be the boulder to the left hand side of Charlie, not the Charlie boulder, so I knew that was definitely a 0 for the second task. And the third one was a nice trick as well, moving back into an open land on the path by Bravo, but it was the wrong patch of open land, so a double 0 in there before coming back to Charlie, and then Delta on the line of boulders to finish off as well. So I'm very happy with that station. That's my quickest station of the day so far, and we are just going to go into the penultimate station of the day now, which is going to be Station 7. Okay, lake again with the bridge, but corner building as well. So those are the boulders in front of us. I don't think that's the right boulder to be Bravo, so I'm going to 0 that. 2 bushes next to the bench is Foxtrot, and corner of building is going to be Charlie. That must be Alpha as well, and then that rock I think is actually a 0. That's a nice trick. I was almost putting Delta there for that final task, but I very quickly realised we actually wanted the other boulder on the pair, so I think that was definitely a 0 to finish off. I do have to correct my earlier statement as well, saying that benches are crosses. I noticed during that station that actually benches were marked by another symbol as well, kind of a double T or an extended H. But yeah, anchoring on the bridge again was a good start, but also the corner of the building meant I could align up the lake with what I expected it to see, and that definitely helped me spot that we were on the right lake to start with. However, I do believe Bravo was on the wrong boulder and we were actually on a boulder we couldn't see, so I'm going to stick with a 0 to start us off there. And then we move to the right to Foxtrot, and then back to Charlie as well, and then forward to Alpha between a rock and a bush. I'm kind of believing it was in the right place, as it did seem near enough to the rock, but I couldn't really tell which bush it was between. I think that was fine though. And then finally, we've already said that final task was a 0, and so I am enjoying this a lot, and I don't really want it to end, but we're going to have to, coming in to the final station of the day, which is station 8. Okay, bridge again and bench on the right hand side with Foxtrot and rock shapes picture, and we're going there between the 2 trees, and I don't believe anything is there. And that bench as well is also a 0, whereas that rock is Echo, between there is Charlie, and that rock is also out of the way, to finish off the day with another 12-second station and a total time of 151 seconds. And that is so far. I don't believe I've made any mistakes so far, but we will check that. That final station having 3 zeros though, I thought was quite tricky to spot, especially that first task meant to be between the 2 trees, but I think Alpha was between a tree and a bush. I don't think it was quite in the right place. However, I did think that was a nice way to round it off, so let's go through these stations again, starting with station 1. And here what I got to start with was we saw the building in the background. There was a couple of shapes in the path, and I saw this fence going around this open land, so I kind of wanted to see some open land on the left hand side. Didn't really get it, and we just got white, but I could see the fence on the curve in the path, so I knew we must be in the right place here. And we wanted the black cross and the western side of this black cross, which I thought previously was a bench, but I think actually might be a small statue, as is this one here. But we're going up against the building where these paths seem to converge, and that is where Bravo is to start off this station. Well done if you did manage to spot that. And then we moved to the second task, and we went all the way right to a boulder on the edge of a lake, wanting the northwestern side of that boulder. And we look out to the right and see Foxtrot's the only plausible answer here, and it is on a rock and on the northwestern side of it. So do we just believe it's in the right place? Well, I can see the fountain at the back as well, and it's the only boulder in this area. There's one quite far back, but Foxtrot is definitely not far enough back to be that one, I don't believe. Or maybe it is actually. Maybe this is my first mistake and this should actually be a 0, because I can see this tree, a couple of bushes coming along, and actually I want the rock to be there. This is my first mistake. Foxtrot is on that boulder there, and we actually want a boulder back there. So that is a 0, and that has caught me out. This is very good planning. I obviously wasn't quite into the flow here, although from my times it does show I was hesitant. So that was possibly a sign it was a 0, however I did just go with it. Well done if you did manage to get it right though. And then we moved on to the third task here, and we came forward to the bench, wanting the northeastern side of the bench. And so coming forward, there were 2 benches in this set. Charlie's on one and Delta's on the other. We want the closest one, so that must be Delta. And then also we just moved slightly to the right hand side for the fourth task, wanting the northwestern side of the paved area there, which is obviously Echo right in front of us. And then finally we moved all the way back for the final task, wanting the northwestern side of a thicket, specifically the northeastern thicket in the circle. However, we are crossing another path between Echo and where we want, and so it must be that thicket there with nothing on it, and a 0 to finish off the station. So it is my first mistake here. It does turn out I have made at least one with that Foxtrot or 0. I do think that's a very fair problem though. It's just tricked me, and well done if you did manage to get it right. And then we moved on to station 2 here, which was definitely a lot harder than the first station, as we had a lot more vegetation and it was picking out which things are thickets and which things are trees. I think now definitely noticing that this is a lake with Alpha in it between 2 rocks would have helped us place us to start as well. As we can see here in the map loads, we've got a lot of vegetation, but the lake is here on the left hand side. side. So we can work our way from that lake and say that this distinctive tree with Bravo on it must be this tree here. And so the thickets that we want starting off this station are going to be these two, just in line with the thickets being those two. And so I think that definitely places this task as a 0 to start us off. Delta is the obvious decoy, however it's definitely too far away from between those two thickets as we wouldn't be able to see this. So I thought that was a straight 0 to start us off, fairly easy, and then moving across to Alpha in the lake. This is where I definitely saw that Alpha was in the lake here, and so I was very quick to put Alpha. The third task I thought was a lot harder though, going between these two thickets, and we're going back from the tree that we've said Bravo is on. So we're going back here, and I saw this little bit and wondered whether this could be a thicket. However, it doesn't seem to be of the same type as all these other thickets, and I can already see 3 in a line there where Charlie is, which I'm presuming are these 3, putting this as an unmapped object. And so we want the closest 2 mapped objects to us in this line, which are going to be that one and that one, putting Charlie between them, and Charlie is definitely the correct answer for this third task. So well done if you did manage to get that quicker than I did. And then we move to the fourth task and we jump back to the pillar that's in line with these 3 thickets, which is that pillar there. And because of this arrow as well, Foxtrot is very nicely pointed out, and the obvious decoy, but I believe it's on that pillar there instead of the correct pillar, putting 0 the correct answer to this task. Well done if you did manage to get that. And then finally we came forward back into the vegetation, and we wanted between 2 thickets. And if we've already pointed out that this tree with Bravo on it is this tree, all we have to do is go across a bit to get to the furthest thicket away, the 2 that we want, and then come forward to see that this is the other thicket, and Echo is very nicely between the 2, rounding off this station with a nice Echo. And I do think that is my first clean station of the day. It's a very nice station, a lot harder than the first one, but if you kept your nerve I think you would have done very well there, so well done. And then we moved on to station 3 and we jumped back to the first area, and this area of lake, and I can actually see now if we go back to this first station and task 12 and you look at this rock here, that is definitely the rock that Delta is on here. And with this task 12 we wanted the boulder which is hiding behind these thickets, and you can see that here. So I'm definitely confident now that 12 is actually 0, not Foxtrot. But anyway, we came to this station and I saw the pillar and the fountain, and that had to be what I anchored on to start us off, as that is definitely this bit here. We are stood on a bridge which is just here, putting that rock as Bravo, and so we're coming back in all this greenery on the left hand side, wanting between a tree and a thicket. So I believe it's that thicket and that tree, and if we look over here, that's the only distinctive tree, whereas all the rest are thickets, and just to the left hand side of it is Charlie. So I kind of said here that Charlie does seem to be in about the right place. It's on the right side of the tree to be between the tree and the correct thicket, and it's definitely within 3 meters of where I want it. Not that I'm quite sure about where I want it, but it will definitely be within 3 meters, so I'm happy with Charlie to start off the station there. And then for the second task we moved across to the fountain, and we just had to check whether Echo was on the right corner, but it's up against this boulder which is there, so it had to be Echo. So that was a nice and quicker Echo for the second task. And then the third one came, and we wanted between 2 thickets on the right hand side up by this path, and we haven't really talked about it yet, but Foxtrot is by the path, so is it in the right place? Well, I don't believe it is, because I can see this here looking like a tree, as it looks very similar to this tree here and a couple of trees we've seen before. So I think Foxtrot's actually on the edge of the circle, about here between the tree and this thicket. That would definitely put this task as a 0, although I had to think about it a bit more, and I want the kite to actually be about here, hiding behind this tall tree. So I think that is a good 0. Well done if you did manage to spot that. And then finally we sped through the final 2 tasks, coming forward to this boulder we've already said Bravo is on for the 4th task, and then finally between 2 thickets further to the left of Bravo, so it had to be Alpha or 0, and it does seem to be between the 2 right thickets there. So that was another good station. A couple of tricks in there, especially Foxtrot or 0 for the 3rd task. I'm still fairly happy it's a 0, but it could be Foxtrot, and we'll have to see that later. But we then moved on to the 4th task, and here we moved to the centre of this area, and we could see this logo, which I could only presume was going to be mapped as paved area, and that's what it was, in the centre of this ring. So I presumed we were here to start with as soon as the map came up, and I also saw the pillars at the back, which must be these pillars here, so that lined up very nicely. So what we wanted to start this station off is 2 thickets to the left hand side of the circle, and we wanted to be between them. And so we're coming to the left hand side, and we see that Alpha and Bravo are both on the left hand side. So which one's it going to be? Well, the first thicket seems to be this one just to the right of Bravo, and that looks like it's going to be this thicket here, as these ones are all quite far away, and that does seem to be right. So if that one is going to be that one, then we come forward one between Alpha and Bravo, and we get the northern one of the 2 that we want, and then we come down a bit and we get this one as well. So Alpha does seem to be between the two that we want, putting this one as Alpha for the first task. Well done if you did manage to get that. And then we jumped back into the background and we look at these pillars, and we want the southern of these 4 pillars, which is the one that Delta's on, which surprised me actually, because I expected there to be another 0. However, I suppose if there's already been 1 0 with this kind of trick before, why would they do 2 of the same? It didn't catch me out though. I noticed this one was Delta, and so I am happy with that one being Delta for the second task. And then we came forward, and here we wanted a thicket, but this time on the right hand side of the circle. And this one made me think a bit more, as Foxtrot or 0 again seemed to be the question, and Foxtrot's definitely on the thicket, and it's on the northeastern side of that thicket. However, I believe this thicket is the one just on the vegetation boundary, and I can just about make out a thicket in there, closer to the distinctive tree which is on the map, which I believe is the correct thicket we should be on rather than this thicket. I may be wrong with that, but I don't think I am, and so I'm going to stick with that one being a 0 for the third task, as I believe Foxtrot is there. Well done if you did manage to get that. And then, common theme with these stations, the final 2 tasks did seem to be very quick for me, as we moved to the southeastern side of the paved area in the centre of this circle, which is the logo, and Charlie is very nicely placed there. And that actually means if Charlie is there, then Foxtrot is on this thicket and not that one. So 43 is definitely a 0. And then finally going back out to the inside corner of the open land, right back there, we can see this bit of paved area is the first ring, and we go quite a lot further back actually, but we can see that the paved area curves around there, and there is no further open land behind that curve. So we know that Echo must be in the furthest bit of open land before the pillars, which is the bit we want, and it does seem to be in the closest bit there, making Echo the answer to this final task. And I did think that was quite a nice way to round off the first half of the day, before the second half became a lot more similar in its style, mainly all based around lakes. But I did think that was very good, and bouncing between the background and the foreground made it quite tricky in places. But from there we then moved into station 5, and this was the start of some of the stations which were mainly based around lakes. This first one loading up though, and what I could see was a load of rocks around the set, but I noticed these 2 in a pair, and then kind of gradual ones as we went round. However, when the map came up, I could see 3 rocks on the left hand side rather than 2, so this is why I instantly thought it was a 0, and I couldn't quite see where else we could be, but I believed we definitely weren't in the right place there, as there also weren't enough rocks on the right hand side, so I straight away zeroed that, and it turns out I was right, as we then came all the way forward on the map, and we came to this lake here, which did seem to match up a lot better, as we have 2 rocks on the left hand side with Alpha between them, and then the distinctive tree, 2 bushes, tree, and so we can work our way around. That rock is going to be that one there, and then Delta's on the next rock along, and then Echo finally on the rock that we want, and on the northern side of that rock to make the first task Echo there. So well done if you did manage to get that, especially if you managed to get the first one right. You've definitely done a good job there. Before moving to between 2 thickets, and we've already been past these thickets, so Bravo's definitely in the right place there for the third task. The fourth task I thought was another nice trick, but it was very simple for me, as we went between 2 boulders, but I knew Alpha was between these 2 boulders, so these 2 are out the photo, and that one is definitely a 0, completing it in 1 second. Very quick time there, but it was fairly obvious to me. And then finally we went off to the right hand side again between 2 thickets, and we won the second and third thicket in this line of 3. So we go from this rock and count 1, 2 and 3. Foxtrot is definitely between the second and third one, so it's Foxtrot to end off this station. And that was a clever station. The first 0 was a nice touch, and actually the fourth task also being a 0 could have caught some of you out just going straight for Alpha, but well done if you did manage to get that one fully right. Then moving on to station 6, we had another lake, but I anchored straight on this bridge and I could see this line of 4 rocks. So this helped me go very quickly here, as soon as the map came up I saw a bridge and a line of 4 rocks, and I just believed we were straight in the right place. Everything else seemed to match up, I couldn't see anything that didn't, so I went straight into this task and saw that we wanted the third in the line of 4 starting from the back, or the middle of the 3 in the lake before the bridge, and if we see there are these 3, the middle one is definitely the one with Foxtrot on, so we started straight away with Foxtrot. Very nice task to start us off. And then the second task came and we moved between 2 boulders on the left hand side of the photo, so we can see that there are 4 here. Alpha's between 2 boulders and Charlie isn't, so it's not going to be Charlie, and Alpha's between the furthest 2 away boulders, and we want the middle 2, so Alpha's actually there rather than there, and this one is definitely a clear 0 for the second task. Well done if you did manage to spot that. And then for the third task as well, we moved back and we wanted the inside corner of some open land, and we can see that Bravo is on the inside corner of some open land. However, it's on the right hand patch and we want the left hand patch, so Bravo's actually there here, not there, and we actually want the kite to be there, so that's definitely another 0. And then again, the final 2 tasks I thought were fairly simple as well. Even though task 4 was my longest task of the station, we came forward and we wanted the southeastern side of the rock, which Charlie is on, and definitely on the southeastern side, so that had to be Charlie for the 4th task. And then finally we went under the bridge to the back rock of the line of 4, and that had to be Delta to finish off this station. So this was my joint quickest station of the day. I found it possibly the easiest, and it's definitely all correct for me, so I think that was another very good station, and well done if you did manage to do the same. And then we had the penultimate station here, which was station 7, and again I anchored on a bridge, and actually the corner of the building which Charlie did seem to be on. So when the map came up and I saw a bridge on the left hand side running in the correct direction, I also checked the corner of the building and I could see that. So I believed we were in the correct place here to start us off. And so for this first task we wanted the northern rock of this pair and to the northeastern side of that rock, and we come to the near side of the lake, as that's the side we're on, and we see that Bravo is on a rock, and it's definitely on the northwestern side of that rock. However, it's on the rock closest to this distinctive tree, and so is the southern of the 2 rocks, not the northern. This northern rock must be hiding behind this bush here, making this answer a 0, not Bravo. So I thought it was quite a tricky task to open up this station, and it actually started the longest station of the day here for me, but not my longest opener. But that was quite a tough task, well done if you did manage to get that. But we then moved to the right hand side, and we wanted between 2 thickets, and it's the nearest 2 thickets to the bench. So I could see the bench there hiding behind this lamppost. That's the closest thicket to it, and that's the second closest thicket. So between those 2 is where Foxtrot is placed, making this one Foxtrot for the second task. And then also going back to the corner of the building, we'd already anchored on that, so we knew that must be Charlie for the 3rd task. I thought I was very clear, even though we also couldn't see the canopy. I thought it was good, and that was actually my quickest task of the station before moving on to 74. And this was also another quick one, as we wanted between a rock and a thicket, and it's the closest rock to the bridge on this side of the lake, which must be that one, as we can't see any through. And Alpha is on the left hand side of that rock as we want, and there are 3 thickets down here. I don't quite know which one it's between, but it's definitely within 3 meters of the correct location, so must be the correct answer here. And so that one is Alpha for the 4th task, before finally we rounded off this station going for the middle boulder of the 3 and the eastern side of it. So we look at the boulders and we can only see 2, however we know we definitely can't see any to the right hand side, as those 2 boulders there are these 2. So Delta is definitely on this boulder here, not the boulder that we want, which is actually that one, and there must be another boulder hiding behind there up against the bridge. So this one is another clear 0 to finish off the station, and this was definitely for me the hardest station of the day. That I got fully correct, because we've obviously made the mistake in station 1, but I did think that was quite a nice challenging lake problem actually, just counting all the features around the lakes and actually jumping into the background for Charlie as well. Worked quite nicely and kept us on our toes. But then we moved into the final station of the day here, and this is the one I did put 3 zeros in, so we will check them all. But when we loaded this up, it was another case of, oh, there's another bridge and there's a line of boulders, and that was exactly what we got in the map. But then I also noticed this line of boulders around the edge of the lake here, and that was going to be where Bravo and Charlie was. So we wanted the 2 distinctive trees by these rocks, and I could see one distinctive tree there, but I can't really see another. So I look at Alpha and decide that Alpha is actually placed between this thicket and that tree, which is going to put it there, and definitely not between the 2 trees, which actually the other one is here. So I want the kite to be about there, which is not where Alpha is and not where any of the other kites are, so I do believe that is a 0 to start off this station. Nice tricky one to start us off, but we were able to go a lot quicker after that one, as that one almost took half the time for my station there. As we moved off to the right hand side, and we wanted the northeastern side of a bench, so we look and see that Foxtrot is on a bench, however it's angled off to the right as we look back on it, like this bench, not angled off to the left like the one we want. So it must be a bench hiding behind this tree here, and I also can't see another bench behind Foxtrot, so we know it must be the furthest bench away. So this is going to be a 0 rather than Foxtrot, as the bench is hiding somewhere there. Another good 0 for the second task there. But then we moved to the 3rd task and we started putting some kites, as we wanted the middle boulder of the 3 on the line at the back, and so if that's the left hand one, that's the right hand one. Echo's on the middle one, and we want the eastern side, which is definitely Echo. So that was a nice 3rd task. And then the 4th task came and wanted between the 2 boulders in front of us, and Bravo and Charlie are both between 2 boulders, however the 2 boulders in front of us are these 2, so Charlie must be the correct answer between those 2, making it another quick Charlie before an even quicker 0 came, as we wanted the boulder the other side of the bridge to what we can see. So Delta's on this boulder here, is on the closer side of the bridge. We want the side furthest away, which is that boulder just sticking out of the bridge there, to finish off the day with another 0. And it does look like I have only made one mistake today, putting my time to 181 seconds, which isn't too bad at all. all. Station 6 and 8 definitely helped me make up the time from the mistake, putting in 24 seconds combined, and that's actually quicker than my Station 7 and as quick as my Station 2. So there were definitely opportunities for you to go fast there, but there were a lot of difficult problems as well. So well done if you have managed to do well here. Let's go back and have a look and see where I am on the leaderboard, and we can see that I am in first place at the moment, even with one mistake. That's very surprising. That must especially be because of the two fast 12-second stations, but we will have to see how that plays out. I'm not expecting to still be there at the end, but I will join you later for the overall results. And we are back to see that my lead did actually hold. As I said before, I'm very surprised by that because I'd made the mistake, and we were right about the mistake in Station 1 Task 2. It should have been a 0, not Foxtrot. But it does seem that everyone in the top 7 did make one mistake, and the only person I can really see which didn't make a mistake is Andras in joint 7th place. Just scrolling down, there's Inns in 35th as well. But it did seem like pretty much everyone made at least one mistake. So very well done to those two for doing it with no mistakes. It was a time of 181 seconds for me though, with Alexei in second place, 18 seconds behind me, and then Kentaro another 6 seconds behind him. So I'm very happy with that. It does seem like Station 6 and 8 was what really won it for me, although I was in the lead for the whole of the second half of the day, and so I am very happy with that. But very well done to Alexei and Kentaro for their second and third places as well. To me, the most interesting station here for percentages was, unsurprisingly, Station 1 here, with the task that I got wrong. Only 25% of you managed to get it right, or 123, with 334 going with Foxtrot, and a couple of people for the other kites as well. This was obviously a very good trick played by Ralph and Anne, and caught quite a lot of you out, but it was definitely clear afterwards when we looked at it that the correct answer should have been a 0, and well done if you did manage to put that in the time. The other tasks in this station, they were all above 85%, with 3 of them in the 90% ranges, and that doesn't happen often at all. So it does show that actually as a collective we were doing very well throughout this first station. It was just that one task which caught us all out, and that is normally the case with an early 0, so I wouldn't be too disheartened by that at all. I think the fact that most people got 4 out of 5 here at least is a sign you've done a very good job, so well done. So since we spotted all the mistakes I made in the analysis before, we can just go back now and have a look at the overall results of the series so far, and we don't need to look at the individuals because we already know the positions at the moment, with me in first place and Alexei and Kentaro following behind. So I look forward to see how this plays out across the rest of this series. But we go to the clubs now, and we can see that Massey, as they always seem to be, are in the lead with 291 points, just over 2 points ahead of MDoc on about 289. Does seem they have a very consistent run, as they always seem to, so I expect to see them at the top of the whole series. But then we have Linkoping's okay, just over 3 points behind MDoc, finishing off the medal tables as it stands, and then Krakow in 4th place, 2 points behind them, and Bratislava as well, only 0.01 behind Krakow, so it's very close for 4th and 5th place at the moment, and we'll have to watch those two teams as we go into the second event. But very well done to Massey so far for winning this series, and I expect to see them there for the rest of the week. And then we also go to the countries, and we can see that the Italians are continuing their dominating force in this series with a current score of 486 points, which is just under 5 points more than the Czechs have at the moment in second place. But the Czechs are only 0.27 points ahead of Japan, who are then only 0.4 points ahead of Great Britain as well. So as much as the Italians have got a clear lead at the moment, it's still very fought for second and third place between those three countries. So it looks like those are going to be the countries at the moment fighting it out for second and third place, but I wouldn't count out any of the other countries at the moment, even though Poland are more than 7 points behind Great Britain. I'm sure there'll be a bit more movement as the week goes on, and especially with only 3 of the 4 scores counting in this series, it's still definitely all to play for. But well done to the Italians for the moment, currently leading this series. And that does bring us to the end of the first event in this series. It has been a very fun one, and I'd like to thank Ralph and Anne for the effort they've put in to put this together. It's a great way to start off this World Orienteering Day series, and I'm looking forward to seeing where we go for the rest of the week. But for now, that's going to be the end of today's video. Thank you all again for watching. If you'd like to like the video, as always, and be subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, making sure you click the bell next to the subscribe button and select all so you're notified whenever I release a video. And as always, be remembering to share these videos. World Orienteering Day is one of the best times to get people into this sport, and I'm sure if you share with people this series, they'll definitely give it a go and see whether they enjoy it, and that's the only way people can get into the sport. So make sure you are sharing all this around as much as you can, and then finally be remembering to comment down below any extra analysis you think I missed from this video, or any small bits you think I should add. And I will join you again tomorrow for the second event in this World Orienteering Day Torus series.